When it comes to understanding the opponent before a fight, we actually analyze its strength and weakness. And that's what we are going to do today. If the exam is going to throw questions at you, you should be prepared to take them. And in order to do that, you need to understand AWS's motive behind making this exam. For that, we need to talk about domains and the topics we need to understand for each domain. So if you're ready, let's begin. So as you already know, we have domain level segregation on the weightage of questions that the exam is going to put at you or throw at you. So these are the 5 domains. There are 5 domains. So the first one is deployment, that carries 22%, security with 26%, development with AWS services carries 30%, that is the maximum, and refactoring actually carries 10%, and monitoring and troubleshoot is around 12%. So now let's look at them one by one. First off, let's talk about deployment. Deploy written codes in AWS using existing CI/CD pipelines, processes, and patterns. So you need to understand that as a developer, you need to be good at writing code both for your application and also when you're hosting on AWS. You need to be good at deployment as well. Okay, remember this point very carefully. As a developer, you should be good at writing code for both your application, and when you're hosting on AWS, you need to be good at deployment as well. That is why it is important for you to understand these key points, like how we can commit code to a repository, invoke, build, test, or deploy the code, use labels and branches for version and release management. So if you have already used Git or SVN, you might be aware of these concepts. And the third thing is use AWS code pipeline to orchestrate workflows against different environment. So AWS code pipeline is a fully managed continuous delivery service. So we will discuss that. Don't worry. For our CI/CD, we are going to learn how to apply AWS code commit, AWS code build, AWS code pipeline, AWS code star, AWS code deploy for build purposes. And we'll also learn how to perform a rollback plan based on application deployment policy. So we will create the policy, the application deployment policy, and we'll learn how we can perform a rollback to that. So take a look at the services that you need to make use of this section. So we have the developer tool section, then you can just go ahead and take a look at that, try to understand what we are going to make use of. And I hope this is clear. Let's move on. Next is deploy applications using AWS Beanstalk. I already told you AWS Beanstalk or Elastic Beanstalk is going to be one of the most important services in this exam. So we will be talking in depth about how we can utilize existing supported environments to define a new application stack. We need to learn how to package the application, introduce a new application version into the Elastic Beanstalk environment, utilize a deployment policy to deploy an application version that is all at once, rolling with batch, immutable. We'll discuss them each one by one in the course. And we'll also have to learn how to validate application health using Elastic Beanstalk dashboard and using Amazon CloudWatch logs, how we can actually instrument application logging. So in this course, we need to talk about Elastic Beanstalk in depth. Get ready for that. Next is prepare the application deployment package to be deployed to AWS. So prepare the application deployment package, so the application deployment package, so that we can deploy it to AWS. So here we have managed the dependencies of the core modules or the code modules like environment variables, config files, and static image files within the package. So once you have the package ready, you can deploy them onto the AWS, and we need to understand about the dependencies. Outline the package or container directory structure and organize files appropriately. Translate application resource requirements to AWS infrastructure parameters like memory and cores. So if suppose you have an application that you're currently working on, it will have its resource requirements. So you need to map that accordingly to the AWS infrastructure parameters. And we will also have to check on deploying serverless applications. So here we will make use of AWS SAM. Given a use case, implement and launch an AWS serverless application model template. So we will be doing that. Next is manage environments in individual AWS services. So we have to differentiate between, development environment, test environment, production, using or in API gateway, so that we can manage the environments. So this is also very important because setting up different environments for your requirement or the product that you're working on is important, and that is important for any product that you want to deliver. I hope this was clear. Let's move on. So the second domain, and a very important one, that is security. The first thing that we have here is make authenticated calls to AWS services. Authentication is very important. So the first thing that we need to understand is communicate required policy based on least privileges required by the application. And the next one is assume an IAM role to access a service. So in this course, we will focus more on assuming a role rather than doing it manually. So keep your eyes on that. So next one is also very important. So here we will make use of the software development kit or SDK and the credential provider for the on-premises or in the cloud to access the AWS services. So we'll work on both local credentials and the instance roles. So we will discuss in depth about all these things as well. The next one is implement encryption with AWS services or using AWS services. So encryption is very important for data security. So we will talk about encryption of data at rest, like client-side encryption, server-side encryption, envelope encryption using AWS services. And also we will talk about encryption of data in transit. Next is to implement application authentication and authorization. So this is also very important when it comes to the application that we are currently working on or the product that we are currently working on, because the application security baseline lies with the people who can access it. And the 3 A's for security is very important. So remember, I hope you remember this. The 3 A's are basically authentication, authorization, and accounting. Yeah, that's accounting. So 3 A's. So the principle always remains the same. We need to work on these 3 principles like authentication, authorization, and accounting. And here we will focus on AWS Cognito. We will also talk about add user sign up and sign in functionality for applications with Amazon Cognito identity or user pools. And we'll also use Amazon Cognito provided credentials to write code that access AWS services. And we'll use Cognito Sync to synchronize user profiles and data. And we'll also use developer authenticated identities to interact between end user devices, backend authentication, and Amazon Cognito. So this will be very interesting because we have not done this previously, and we will be doing this in this course. So keep an eye out on that. Domain 3 is also very important. This carries the maximum marks or the maximum questions, that is around 30%. So development with AWS services. And I know that it is interesting for everyone because it covers most of the AWS services. I hope you are excited for this. So the first thing that we have to do is write code for serverless applications. So we have to compare and contrast server-based versus serverless model, that is microservices. For example, microservices, stateless nature of serverless applications, scaling serverless applications, and decoupling layers of serverless applications. We learn how to configure AWS Lambda functions by defining environment variables and parameters, that is memory, timeout, runtime, handler, and we'll discuss more on this, but remember the point mentioned here. But if you want to learn more on the basics of AWS Lambda, please go to the AWS Solutions Architect playlist. We have a video, or we have multiple videos that cover the basics. You will get the starting point there. Next is create an API endpoint using API gateway. We have already done this, but we will do this again. And the next point also we have already covered, which is create and test appropriate API actions like get, post using API endpoint. We have already done this, but we will also discuss this again. Next is apply Amazon DynamoDB concepts like tables, items, and attributes. So we will cover more concepts on how to create tables and how to store and retrieve data from DynamoDB. So it should be good because we haven't done that before. And we'll also compute read-write capacity units for Amazon DynamoDB based on applications requirement. And associate an AWS Lambda function with an AWS event source. It could be API gateway, CloudWatch event, S3 event, or Kinesis. So we will see how the interaction point works. Next, and the last one that we have here is invoke an AWS Lambda function synchronously and asynchronously. So this is going to be very interesting because there are 2 ways that we can actually invoke this. So we will try this both ways, both synchronously and asynchronously. Next one is also very important. for the real-time use cases. So translate functional requirements into application design. The first thing is determine real-time versus batch operations or batch processing for a given use case. Next is determine use of synchronous versus asynchronous for a given use case. And determine use of event versus schedule poll for a given use case. So we have to consider these concepts and we have to relate it to them so that we can provide a real-time use case for this. And we'll try to simplify this as much as possible for everyone's understanding. So let's see how this goes. The next one is implement application design into application code. So we have to convert the design that we have into the actual code. So here we will learn about writing code to utilize messaging service like SQS SNS, which we've already covered in the previous course, but we will try to do some hands-on coding with this. And we'll also use Amazon Elastic Cache to create a database cache. And we'll also use Amazon DynamoDB to index objects in Amazon S3. And we also need to write a stateless AWS Lambda function. This we will also discuss, and we'll also write a web application with stateless web server. So these are all the requirements that AWS wants you to understand, and it wants you to know these things. So our job is to actually learn them, and that is what we are going to do in this course. But these should be pretty simple to understand, so don't worry. We'll try to simplify them as much as possible, and if you have any doubts, then you can just put them in the comment section below so that we can actually discuss it among ourselves. Well, this is also very important for our day-to-day work. The next one that we have, that is write code that interacts with AWS services by using APIs, SDKs, and AWS CLIs. And I think this is one of the most useful things that we can actually implement in our daily jobs as well. So this is very good. So write resilient code that deals with failures or exceptions. So the first thing is choose the appropriate API software development kit or SDK and CLI commands for the code component that you need to make use of, or if you are currently in an organization that is already having that specific set of SDKs, then you can also make use of it. And write resilient code that deals with failures or exceptions. For example, it can retry for exponential backoff and jitter. So it's like once it fails, it actually retries it. And this is basically about the APIs and SDKs and the command line interface that we are going to make use of. And in this course, we will be using Python 3. That is the Boto 3 module that I've already told you. We'll also make use of Terraform and CloudFormation as our development toolkit. So the next domain is refactoring. So refactoring is like improving or changing application code. Actually, this actually helps in improvement in performance, quality, and maintainability of the code that you actually have. So refactoring is one of the major changes that actually take place in any of the organization that you work, because we always try to improve the application code that we have for readability, because it is very important for other person actually who is going to join you in the team to actually understand the code properly. So it should be properly set in a particular standard so that anyone who actually is new to the team also should be able to read and make changes to the code. As I already told you, it's not just for readability, it also improves performance, the quality and maintainability. So it is easier to maintain if the code is properly structured. And the performance is like, if you're trying to refactor, you can try to optimize the code that you have and you can help better the performance of the product that you have. So the first thing that we have to do is implement AWS caching service to optimize performance, for example, by using Amazon Elastic Cache or API Gateway Cache. The next one is obviously for maintainability, that is apply an Amazon S3 naming scheme for optimal read performance. So it actually improves performance and maintainability as well. Next one is to migrate existing application code to run on AWS. So we need to isolate dependencies. So we need to understand what the dependencies are and we need to isolate the dependencies. Run the application as one or more stateless processes and develop them in a way that we can enable horizontal scalability. And we can also externalize the state. And don't worry about these terms. If they seem to be overwhelming, don't worry about that. We will discuss them in detail later on. For now, just focus and try to remember that you need to be good at them. And the last domain is monitoring and troubleshooting. We all know what monitoring and troubleshooting is, but our focus is to create and design the application in such a way that it can be monitored and it should be easy to troubleshoot. For that, the first thing that we need to do is we need to write the code that can be monitored. And for that, we need to create custom matrices like Amazon CloudWatch matrix that we have already discussed on how to create them. And we also need to know how to perform logging in a manner available to systems operators, and also instrument application source code to enable tracing in AWS X-Ray. The next one is perform root cause analysis, or RCA. RCA is very important for any developer. So perform root cause analysis on faults found in testing or production. As a developer, the most important thing for you could be how good you are at debugging the outputs that you have, and to interpret them and find what errors it can have. So for that, we need to be good at interpreting the outputs from the logging mechanism in AWS to identify errors in the logs. Check build and testing history in AWS services to identify issues. For that, we can make use of AWS code build, we have code deploy, and code pipeline. We can also utilize AWS services to locate a specific faulty component, and for that we can make use of CloudWatch, flow logs, or the VPC flow logs, and AWS X-Ray. I think these are the few services that are really important for this exam, and these are the details that we will cover, and you should be ready. So remember this line very carefully. Understanding the concept is far more important than anything that you will ever do, because marks only matter if you can apply the services that you have learned appropriately. So that's all for the domains part for the AWS Certified Developer Associate exam. And remember, as I already told you 3 times, remember these sessions are really important, and the next one is even more important. So please make sure that you don't miss out on that. And these first few sessions are meant to provide you a base. So make sure that you don't skip any sessions. And please do subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel grow, and this lets me make more videos like this. And you know, YouTube's algorithm works on how you actually interact with the video. So please make sure that you comment on the video, like the video, and please do subscribe to the channel. If your friends or team members are interested, please let them know about this course. So that way you can help someone learn things for free. So that's it for today's session, and I hope I'll meet you in the next one as well. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. It's Pythoholic signing off.